I read more than 400 fantasy books. Those are 61 more since last year. And these are the best of the best, the ones that are my favorites, the ones that I will always die for and will always try to recommend to others. Let me know later, because I believe the ones that I have in position number 4 and number 9, I'm gonna blow your mind. At least it blew mine. And let's start with some honorable questions, because let's face it, this is already very difficult. I did stare into my wall, into my shelves for a long time. I made lists, pros, cons of books being here or not, and there are some rules that I made for myself. With one exception, I will only include here books that belong to a series, so standalones are outside of this scope. And also I'm trying to keep away of the top 10 sci-fi stories, although we have 2 on the honorable mentions that are just chef's kiss, and I hope that you pick it up because are incredible. Starting with the first honorable mention, we have a story that it's not only funny, it's witty, it's action-packed, but it had very charismatic characters. Let's face it, having a talking cat called Princess Donut makes it just a terrible delight, and this is Dungeon Crawler Carl. In case you missed it, this book has calm and conquered the hearts of a lot of readers this last year. The fantasy subreddit, which has a little bit more than 1 million users, every few years releases a poll for readers to select which are their top favorite series or books. The results for this year had just come in, and Dungeon Crawler Carl has escalated 123 positions, so it's the one that has risen the fastest, and it is for a reason. I picked it up because I wanted to get out of a slump, and what I got with it was a fascinating story. In theory, you start with something that seems like a playful idea, but what you start reading, it's kind of horrible, but it is very funny at the same time. And we have this idea of Earth has collapsed, we have these games, and the people that has survived need to fight for their lives in different levels in order to, survive. And all of this is televised. So it has a little bit of that critic to social media that I also really appreciated. And I need to keep reading these because I know that from book 2 onwards is when the story really picks forward. But for me, it's already one of those stories that I keep thinking myself time and time again. And whenever someone is like, I don't know what to read, I'm like, if you're in a slump, pick this one up. Honorable mention number 2, we have a series that it's phenomenal. It is here because it's sci-fi, but I loved it. I haven't read the whole series. I read the first trilogy and it blew my mind already. I never read a character from which I felt so much from so early on. First pages already ripped my heart to pieces. It was incredible how hard this character had it in life, and the amount of revenge and changes that he needs to make in order to succeed, it's incredible. And that is Red Rising. This definitely leans more towards the sci-fi spectrum, but it is phenomenal. We have this military academic setting, we have this society that is divided in different color schemes depending on it. We have a very stratified society as well, so the ones that are at the top, the golden ones, are perfect, and the ones at the bottom are the red ones. And it's not only that it's stratified and the jobs are related to your color, but also your physique is related to that. So it's a very perverse idea, and we will have our main character infiltrating the top and trying to break it down from the top. It's this dystopian idea. I loved how we have a corrupt system. It's fairly political. We have a lot of twists and turns. And if you like your emotional health, don't pick this one up because really it will destroy you. I'm scared of reading more books in this series. Not only because I know that I will suffer, but because I'm not sure if I'm ready, okay? Honorable mention 3, we have a series that I reread last summer as part of the Patreon book club pick, and I loved it. The first time around that I read it, it was like, nah, this is not for me. And I'm like, what was happening with past Isa? I cannot understand, because this has incredible witty characters. It has the best tropes. I love family fun vibes. I love heist. There's this bromance at its core, and the dialogues are so well done. We have a very different structure on how the book is played out with flashbacks. And the first time around that I read it, I was like, this is jarring. But the second time around, that was a complete delight, and this is the Gentleman Bastard series by Scott Lynch. I've just read book 1 and I'm starting book 2, so that's why it's also here. I cannot say that I am fully in love with this story, but I have appreciated not only the care that Scott Lynch created with the narration, the dialogues, which are incredibly fast and very witty, funny. It's this kind of story that it's not only entertaining, but honestly, when you're reading it, you are outsmarted. It's smart. There are a lot of plot twists, a lot of emotional twist. My heart was breaking time and time again. And it is a fairly dark story that it's, surrounded with this layer of irony, of humor, and our characters are surviving. But if you pause for a second and think what is happening here, you will be amazed. The world building, it's great, but the richness of this story really, really revolves around our characters, especially the relationships that our main characters have here. And seeing the journey of our main character, Locke, it's incredible. I could not stop thinking about these. I know this is an unconcluded series, but that's all right. I'm okay with that. I'm still of the idea of what I'm reading, and I cannot wait to see how this unfolds. Honorable mention 3, we go to another side of the spectrum, and this is a very short book. It's part of a series, and it just delivered in a way that I was surprised. It's a hug-made book, and it's very short but very impactful. It talks about the power of fate, of having a purpose, and I found it so incredibly amazing, and that is A Psalm for the Wild Build. I believe this is a book that everyone should read, regardless of where you are in your life. I think you will extract something good from it, because I particularly read it in a moment in which I was very stressed. I felt bad about my life, about my job, about multiple things, and reading these just make me realize that that is okay, and everything comes and goes, and just changing and realizing how you feel. It's a step on itself, and I loved it for it. We follow the journey of this steampunk and this dystopian society, and this is a solar punk kind of story. So we have something terrible happen in the past, but instead of having this terrible future, we have kind of a beautiful future. Humanity is very connected with nature. They're gentle, nice, and although they had this fallout with robots, they were like, okay, robots rebelled, but now it's okay, we will leave them. And we have this demon whose only job is to go village by village and just sit down and hear people out, and they are very good at their job. But the thing is that they are not feeling fulfilled, so they start this quest of trying to find something else, and along the way he meets this robot, and the conversations that they have are outstanding. Really, really pick it up. If not now, just note it out for future, because it's phenomenal. Book 2, it's also great, and I really, really loved it. Although the first one, for some reason, packed an emotional punch for me, and I read this book twice already, and both times I've having just the best time. And last honorable mention, we have an epic fantasy story that it is very popular and that I read a long time ago. I still remember that I loved it, and I'm still convinced that this is top tier fantasy. And if you need to start fantasy somewhere, like, pick this one up, because it is great. It's not only that it has a little bit of a dark environment setting, but it's really political, and we have all of these characters. And for the first time when I was reading it, I realized that a character being grey does not mean their character is necessarily bad, and I loved it. I love how great characters behave, how they have their motivations, and you cannot hate them. That facility of being good and evil, that is not something that you will have in Game of Thrones. And this series, again, unconcluded, and I still believe the journey, it's all worth it. The writing style, it's beautiful. It's not overly descriptive, but you definitely have that richness. It's this medieval-esque vibes, so it feels like a modern classic fantasy, and the array of different characters, of different houses, it's savage, but it's very manageable. Every chapter finishes on a high note. I read these books before the TV series came out, and I was one of those that I was watching my friends see how they were going to behave when the TV series came out, and just facing their reactions. Now this is a major phenomenon, but if you haven't read it and you've enjoyed the TV series, please pick this one up, because it's way better. It's just here and not on my top 10, because it's been honestly 15 years. It's been so long since I read them, so I believe I would still love them, but it's highly due for a reread in my case. And now let's go to the top 10, those that I really hold dear in my heart. I not only believe that all of these books are written in a fantastic way, but it made something special for me, and because of that they are here. Hopefully it also brings something to you. In position number 10, we have a story that I should have read before, and I mainly read because of the recommendations that you guys made, and that is the Middle Earth. I've just started with Hobbit and book 1 in the Lord of the Rings series, so I cannot really place this higher up on the list because I acknowledge there's a lot I still need to read, but the amount of love, of care, of self-sacrifice, of good versus evil, the writing style, all the feelings were phenomenal for me. When I was reading The Hobbit, I was really transformed. It's not only that kind of book that uplifted me and that made me feel like a child again, that wanted to go on a quest and fight adventures, but changing into Lord of the Rings made that journey even more adult but beautiful. And I've been researching a little bit about Tolkien, and I'm fascinated about his way of writing, not just how he writes, but the mental framework that he had while writing, like how a story needed to have certain elements in order to be perfect. And those elements are truly what, for me, fantasy, it stands out. Just having this love for the mundane, discovering the joy, the cherish of things that are very normal to us, like love, friendship, just having time to commune with nature, drinking a beer, things like that was great. Also the escapism, the idea of good versus evil, how the good eventually triumphs, all of that is just such a hopeful read while it is epic. And I was mesmerized. I need to say that I was not really prepared for Tom Bombadil. I don't understand a lot of it. I know he's a very beloved character, and I told my husband that I don't understand, and he was like, and you will never have this conversation again. You cannot mess with Tom Bombadil. So I'm taking that away. I'm not saying anything, but it was weird how he was all the time singing, and I did not expect that. I guess that wasn't me for not being really prepared. But I'm really hoping this year to pick this one up, still read, and hoping that next year perhaps this will escalate this list. In position number 1, we have A Rare Feast. It's a hidden gem that absolutely blew my mind and shocked my world. It leans more to historical fiction, although it is fantasy. We have elemental magic, and it is a very intertwined into the story, so it's not only something that is very low and it's mainly historical, but the main power of this author is how she is transforming Irish story into a very compelling drama that I couldn't escape, and it made me cry, it made me laugh, it made me really concerned about our characters. It's a trilogy, and this is the Galestone Saga by Shona Lawless. I cannot convey how much I love and hate these characters. I love the idea that we will be following mainly these 2 adult women, and they are on very different sides of this Irish war. They are very different on how they are, how they behave, the powers that they have, and it's a very rich setting for that tension. It's incredible how you will see the different wars, the different strategy points, and how you were thrown in it. I remember vividly feeling just stranded with this book. I was kidnapped because I could not stop reading. I wanted to not discover what was happening because I was not liking it. But similar to what happens with Game of Thrones, you just keep reading, stuff keeps going down, and you just eventually recover. It's a beautiful story. It has nice descriptions, but it just powerful woman, and I hope this is one of those that you pick up. Position number 8, we have a trilogy, and actually an author that it's becoming my obsession. This trilogy I'm not positioning higher on this list, mainly because I can acknowledge that there might be a little bit of recency bias, so I'm trying to push it down the line and see if that sticks, and that remains that way for more months, and hopefully this will consolidate. But I loved this trilogy. The blend of fantasy and horror is something that I needed, that I loved. I've always loved horror. I stopped reading it, and this series reminded me how much I adore these. It's moody, it has gray characters, it has these terrible situations, and book 3 is downright terrifying, and I loved it. And that is The Empire of the Wolf by Richard Swan. His newest book, Grave Empire, is one of those that I've read just this year, and it has instantly became also a 5-star read for me. One of the best books that I've read. So I'm like, this is not a fluke. I'm loving how he is masterfully blending fantasy with the other world, with a dark death, magic. Our main character here is a detective, a prosecutioner, and also a judge on itself, and he has powers. He can influence people to tell the truth, but he also can convey with the death. And we see the story not from his point of view, but from the one of Elena's, who is following this journey. And what starts as a mystery, we need to unfold what happens in this weird village that to me will always remind me to this Witcher vibes. It evolves to a very political, religious, strategic story. It's this perfect blend of having a heavy religious theme, war at its core, but it is weaponized. So all in all, you are fighting, and the forces are of evil and not entirely of the living, which I loved. I was terrified. There's a moment in book 3 which I believe was phenomenal, that I was scared. I threw the book, and that is that I love. I love to be scared. In position number 7, we have the only book here that just the first installment is out, but I loved it so much that I believe it will reside still, and I'm hoping book 2 that comes this year to remain as part of my favorite stories of all time. Like this book, it's top tier, not only because it was really addictive, the writing style, but also because I loved the characters, I loved the premise, I love how the author blend fantasy and sci-fi, and how we have this military academic setting, but there's this mystery, there are action scenes that really put you on the edge of your seat. And I was reading and I didn't want to stop. I cancelled some plans, or at least I wanted to. And this is The Will of the Many by James Islington, so the first book in the Hierarchy series. Okay, yes, the first book is out, so things can go very differently with the second book, Strength of the Few, but I don't believe so. The idea of these, it's kind of similar to what we have in Red Rising. So we have a society that it's layered. The great thing here, is that the society is layered in a way in which the ones at the top have all the power, but this power is consumed by the ones on the next layer. So there's a level of, you need to take care of the ones on your level, because otherwise your power will diminish if there's less people there. So it's a very interesting trade-off. You will discover the weird things that happen in this academy, and the powers and the magic. And I was fascinated. The ending, it's easily one of the best cliffhangers that I read in my life. I could not believe it. I spent hours on Reddit, and I cannot wait to reread this one. So it's kind of those books that even if we don't have much, like, I know it's phenomenal, and I would die like every time that I see someone recommending it. I'm like, well done. So if you haven't read it yet, please pick this one up. In position number 6, we have a masterpiece. I read 2 out of 4 books, and I'm still amazed. It's incredible how this author was able to convey something so emotional, strategic, and so big on scope. It's, for me, like, this author is a master, a genius. And I'm the servant, and I'm reading. And this is The Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu. The love that this author embedded on these pages, it's incredible, and I love these, and this is on my top, even if I haven't read the whole series yet, because book 1 and 2 were already very different, and I believe both to be top tier fantasy books. The first one on itself tricked us to become almost a history book. Each chapter was really short, which was a very propelling, I want to read more and more and more, but it just tells the story of different characters. So as you can imagine, for a book like that to grasp you and to really feel emotions for our characters is intense. And we have these main 2 characters that are, at the end of the day, are fighting, and we see not only their journey but everything that surrounds them, and it's amazing. Book 2 goes more into, let's say, a classic structure in terms of the book. It allows us to see more of the inner thoughts of our characters, and it was, again, fascinating. It's a deeply strategic political book, and it blew my mind beginning to end. Just know that this is not a book to binge or even a series necessarily to binge, in my opinion, because it's something that you want to savor, you want to admire. And in my case, I was in awe and I cannot wait to read the next ones. Although book 3 and 4 are considered to be like just one big book, so I need to have enough time to read both, and those are chunky, so that's what is pushing me. But really, it's one of those stories that I keep thinking about, and the characters, and I, in my mind, they are okay, but you know, it's very easy to say so when you're not reading it. In position number 5, we have a classic fantasy story that finally I'm reading. I'm having this journey and I am loving. I believe that with the exception of the book that we will see in top 1, this series is the one that I've invested more effort throughout this last year. I started my journey 1.5 years ago, thanks to my Patreons who proposed that we read Wheel of Time. And I was like, yeah, what can go wrong? And it's such a journey. It's not all books are the same level, in my opinion. My favorite, it's Lore of Chaos, which is book 6. I just finished book 7. So I'm still in the 7 out of 14 books. So just there, halfway there. But this is such an amazing story. And I can really understand why it has become a favorite of a lot of readers. It's not only that the writing style, it's easy, because it kind of is. We follow the characters. They are complex, they are spoiled, and I don't love them equally, but what you see with the world building, with the politics, with how the magic evolves and it's discovered, how the land changes, and how the scope of the book and the story on itself, it's growing in every book. It's mesmerizing. That is what truly is holding me to this story. Not just a proper story, which it's interesting and I am really enjoying, but how am I discovering these different parts, how it's kind of like a chess game, and I love it. I particularly love these conversations that we have with my Patreons, because I'm the only one that I'm reading these for the first time, and we have a lot of people that have reread it and they're like, but this prophecy and this prophecy and this Easter egg and this and that's not my level. I'm still confused about a lot of stuff. I don't remember the name of the most of the Aes Sedai. I'm confused sometimes, but I love the journey, and it's very easy and comfort for me at this stage to go to these books. Book 7 was actually a 3.5 star for me, so not all of the books I'm enjoying at the same level. I cannot say that the quality on itself was the same, but I'm really loving the feeling of getting back, and there's a certain amount of nostalgia even when I'm reading it, which is weird because I'm just picking this one up, but I want to go back to these characters and discover what happens to them, and just being with them, it's making me feel happy. But let's see what happens from here, because I know that the slog will start now onwards. So let's see if I can finish this, push through, and how this changes my scale for next year. In position number 4, we have a concluded trilogy that really goes under the radar. This is also a hidden gem that it just blows my mind that it is so. And I understand, because it's a young adult series, which a lot of people, whenever I say that, are like, but this is done in such a masterful way. It's very political. The themes are treated in a way that feels very matured. I was kidnapped emotionally with these, and just, it has all the best tropes, really. It has dragons, it has a military academic setting, we have rebellion, and I loved it from book 1. I really pray you pick this one up, and this is the Aurelian Cycle by Rosaria Munda. Hopefully this book has gotten, and this series has gotten more popularity after Fourth Wing, but don't take that as a way of thinking that this is romance with dragons, because it's not that. This is a story that at its core talks about rebellion, and I love that. Our main characters are friends since they are children, but they belong to different parts of the rebellion. They have a really complicated relationship. Both are orphans, but one of them is so because the parents of this one killed them, and as a result a rebellion happened and people killed their parents. So both are orphans, they're now friends, but they definitely carry a heavy baggage. And although it seems that in this new Platonian situation in which the control and the power and the access to dragons has been shifted, a rebellion might come, new things are arising, and how our characters will behave, it's completely outstanding. I was inspired and really seen by this one of the main characters, Annie. I felt so like her in so many ways that it was terrifying and scary, and that's why it belongs in position number 4, because I loved it. Book 3 made me cry. I think there's one of the best depictions of a relationship with dragons, how they are sentient creatures and they are not horny little creatures. They are smart, they're savvy, and I love the personalities, and it's a brilliant story that I'm begging you to please pick up. In position number 3, we changed to something that I never thought I would love, and I'm surprised constantly by books that challenges our status quo and it makes us feel a little bit uncomfortable, because that also happened with Daniel Carl. I would never thought I would like a book like these, and with this series I discovered an urban fantasy that I am head over heels with. It's deeply strategic and it's very much a family drama, and it's a masterful character work. I loved the Greenbone saga because of that. This is very character driven. It is slow, but it guts you. If you are a character driven reader, please pick this one up already. I reread this series and I loved it. There are scenes from each book that stick with me. The characters are very well fleshed out, and yes, we have magic. Yes, we have this very interesting setting because we have this land of Kagan, and this is the only place in which we have Jade, and Jade allow you to have special powers. But in order to access that Jade or to wield it, you need to be prepared. It's not a magical instrument that you can have and instantaneously you have power. It can create a withdrawal. It can actually kill you, and I love that trait of that consequence. So you need to train. So there's a lot of that ninja kind of trope in a way of you need to train, you need to behave, you need to mentally prepare, not only physically. At the core of it, we have a war between two bands for the control of this Jade, and that is what we will mainly see. The dynamics of this family, one of these clans that are reshifting, are changing, and we see how these siblings need to face it, and it is phenomenal. This strategy, how it is structured, blew my mind. It's always been described like, if you like The Godfather, go and read this, which like 100%. But if you don't miss it, because it's phenomenal. Great characters all the time, very well fleshed out, terrible situations. I cried like a baby so many times, and this author has my eternal love for what she made, and this author is an absolute genius. In position number 2, we have the only standalone of this list, and it's the only exception that I made, although I love a lot of standalones, but this one is just not only my favorite standalone, but one of the best fantasy books that I read in my life. It has this heart, this courage, and I know that her newest book is becoming more popular, Blood of a Bright Haven, but I actually consider Sword of Kagan one of the best fantasy books that I've read in my life, period. It's incredible. It's not only family drama, which it is, but it's also a testament of great action scenes, of manipulating elemental magic, which is my favorite, in a way that made me see what I was reading. I'm not really good at imagining some of the scenes, and with this one, there were some scenes that I was there. I was feeling not only the cold of this snowy and ice magic, but in the wind that was coming, but also the pain of our characters, how they were being hurt. Like, I was there. It was really vivid. It was not only a movie, I was part of the story. And I can only say this of this book in this whole list, even this one, which is my favorite series, it hasn't made me feel the story as this one. It's very small in scope, if you want, because we will be mainly following this family, the Matsudas, and they are kind of leading this land called Kagan, and there's an invasion that is coming, and they are the ones that will need to face this rebellion, and the way in which they do it, it's incredible. There's a lot of family dynamics, there's a lot of injustice, and the great thing about this is that the main characters are a mother and a son, and I found that not only refreshing but also very inspiring. How Misaki, the mother, needs to really step up and fight a lot of these feudal Japanese conventions in order to survive was outstanding, and I I just loved it. This is one of those books that if you start reading it, you need to give it a little bit. You just be patient because it pays off. I've never cried more in my life like with these. I can still cry. Like if I think hard enough, I can cry. Like it's that kind of book, but it was an absolute beauty, a gem, and I adored it with all my heart. And in position number 1, and regardless of how not necessarily this series has delivered in with the last installment, I still consider the Stormlight Archive my favorite series of all time. I've never invested more time with series than with Stormlight, not only because the books are so chunky that you invest a lot of time reading them, but because I've reread all of them. I've spent hours analyzing the hidden gems, the Easter eggs, the death rattles. I've consumed a lot of content about the lore, the dynamics, and the more I know, the more amazed I am. Yes, Sanderson is a very accessible writer. Yes, you read this and it's a very easy read, but at the same time, I do believe there's a layer of complexity that if you want to, you can get lost to it. He has descriptions about the flora, the fauna, the dynamics of society, the weather, the politics. There's a lot going on and I just loved it. Granted, my favorites are book 1, 2, and 3. Actually 3, 2, 1. And even if Rhythm of War and Wind and Truth were not really as amazing for me, the journey, it's definitely worth the ride. The character work, it's amazing. How these characters are displayed, how much you feel for our characters, it's outstanding. And there's this depiction of mental health illnesses, which I found very refreshing and very also like and in a way it felt like a balm, because you see depression, anxiety, multiple personality disorder. There is a lot going on and our characters are intrinsically succeeding. In a way, this one feels very similar to Tolkien, not at all in how it is written, but how it aims to provide escapism while also ensuring that we have these epic scenes in which the good kind of makes it and triumphs. And I constantly have this kind of hope when I'm reading this, that you see our characters going through very dark moments, but still you close the book and you feel like a better person. I feel that I want to help others, that I want to change the world, behave in a better way. And that inspires me greatly. And I will leave here my favorite standalones of all time, because let's face it, they are incredible. I am obsessed with shorter stories as well, and they're great. Let me know down below which are your favorite books of all time. I cannot wait to also pick them up. And thank you so much to my Patreons. All your names are in the description. And if you want to join us, we have Book of the Month, we have reading sprints, and I would love to welcome you to our cozy community. Thank you. Bye.